Ukrainian Zelensky said, Russia has rejected every proposal to end the war or even to halt the strikes. Putin is blatantly trying to destroy our civilian infrastructure, especially now ahead of winter, gas facilities, power plants, and transmission systems, and there is zero real reaction from the world. Is this accurate? Anything that comes out of the man's mouth is a bold-faced lie. But the issue of energy is a very important one. Energy is the key to everything. You can make a pretty damn good argument that the Second World War, waged by Germany, was lost, largely because it didn't have the energy to sustain itself and keep things running. If you look at the strikes right now, they're terrible, and they're doing enormous damage to the energy infrastructure. I received some information this morning that was sent to me from friends abroad, and it was translated from the Russian, and the Russians have internally said all of Russia's oil and gas is now completely diverted away from Europe. In other words, most all of it is going through Central Asia, into China, and down into India. So as far as they're concerned, they've made their decision. They've reoriented all of their energy to Asia and Central Asia and Southwest Asia. In other words, it doesn't make any difference what we say or do anymore. They're not playing. They're not coming back. I think that's the most serious consequence of this Ukraine catastrophe. It's not that the energy infrastructure in Ukraine is being destroyed. That's the sort of thing you do when you're finishing off your enemy once and for all. That's what we did during World War II to the Germans. We reduced them to the point where no German aircraft in June and July of 1944 could stay in the air for more than a couple of hours because they just didn't have the fuel to move them. You know, they were making fuel out of potatoes, believe it or not, in order to move armoured divisions. So my point is that the Russians are finishing off the Ukrainians. Russians are saying, that's it. Our history with Europe is at an end. No more from us. And that's a very tough thing for most European countries. This is catastrophic because when this stupidity ends, this pointless, unnecessary war ends, what does everybody got to do? They've got to rebuild. How are you going to rebuild without energy? You're going to import from the US, and we're not cutting anybody any breaks on price. On the contrary, we're exploiting the opportunity and screwing our European allies to the wall, which in the mind of somebody like Trump who thinks that's good business is something to be celebrated. Bad news.